Today, I just want to address the shooting that happened last was it last week or was it 2 weeks ago? I honestly don't remember. I want to talk about the shooting that happened. I know that a lot of focus has been put on to who the shooter was and a lot of kind of trying to guess as to what their motives were and what their like personal identity was. I have seen that this person was trans. I have seen that this person was detrans. I have seen everything under the sun, and I am obviously speaking from what I have seen in the news, and I have about as much information as anyone else does. And anyone who purports to know anything personally about this shooter is either trying to sell you something or lying, in which case, see option A. That said, my perception of things based on what I have read is that this shooting is just another example of a lot of apathy and nihilistic thinking towards the world and towards humanity, and this almost like reverence towards being recognized for doing something horrible. The people who are trying to make this into like some sort of ideological thing, I don't trust very much. And I say that for every side of this. Because from best I can tell, this does not seem like this was just specifically like a Nazi. This was somebody who seemed to, Storm, it seemed like somebody who was terminally online. Somebody who was so completely detached from everything. What I want to talk about around the shooting is specifically the reaction to it from the right, because a lot of focus was put into the perpetrator of the shooting being trans. It is highly possible that this person was, and from everything that I can see, it looks like there is some evidence to suggest that this person was either trans or had like detransitioned. And in either case, the fact that we are seeing someone who has detransitioned committing something like this is actually more of a point towards the way that detransitioners tend to be people who have no social support. They tend to detransition not because they're not trans, but because they don't have the support to actually keep transitioning, and they start to fall victim to a lack of social structures to take care of people. Regardless of whether or not this person actually was trans, the right has latched on to even the possibility of it, and it's actually really fucking disgusting. It's not even just that this is just another like thing that they can weaponize. It is the fact that almost immediately the right began openly being genocidal. I actually struggled as to whether or not I was going to show the sources on screen, because to be honest with you, if I'm being completely 100, this shit is hard to read and it sucks. Having to read any of this stuff from like another person about a group of people, especially when you're in the group that they're speaking at, it's just hard. And at first I was not going to show any of these, but I think it's important, at least for the informational aspect of it all, because what I want to ensure everyone is aware of is the gravity of how people respond to tragedies like this, and especially how the people in power respond to tragedies like this, because it isn't just that a shooting happened and that people were like obviously upset about it. It's that a shooting happened, and in response, the people in power started just openly calling for a trans genocide. This is the first image. This is from Joey Manorino, a person who is always the subject of every single one of the worst tweets. Health and Human Services must immediately get involved and violate the HIPAA laws to forward every transgender and transgender questioning person to local law enforcement for immediate detainment until we can figure out why they keep killing children in schools. This is a matter of national security. They must be locked away and studied. Anyone enabling their transition should be immediately expelled from the medical profession. This needs to be handled by the federal government with no mercy. They need to be treated as we treat terror organizations. This is genocide rhetoric. I understand that everyone tends to like get really fucking weird over calling something a genocide, but this is genocide rhetoric. This is the start. This is what people who want to eradicate a group of people say to get eradication mainstream. Trump DOJ is looking at ways to ban transgender Americans from owning guns, sources say. In the wake of the Minneapolis Catholic Church shooting, senior Justice Department officials are weighing proposals to limit transgender people's rights to possess firearms, according to two officials familiar with the internal discussions. Talks, described as preliminary in nature, appear to build on an idea that has gained some currency in conservative media since the Minneapolis shooting that killed 2 children and injured 21, most of them children, at Annunciation Catholic Church. An attack that police say was carried out by a 23-year-old transgender woman. Something that, by the way, we don't actually know for certain. People have speculated this, and there does seem to be some limited evidence, but we don't actually know this for certain. Trump has issued a series of executive orders on the topics, including one barring transgender people from serving in the military and another ordering federal prisons to remove transgender inmates to facilities corresponding to their gender assigned at birth. The idea of restricting gun rights has long been a red line for conservatives, with many Republican lawmakers and gun rights groups opposing red flag laws or other policies aimed at keeping guns away from people suffering from mental health issues. So this was always, by the way, this was always a smokescreen. Republicans never actually opposed red flag laws. Republicans opposed red flag laws in a world where they might be targeted by them. They never actually opposed these. Because at a deep core level, conservatives actually do understand how dangerous firearms are and do understand that the vast majority of people shouldn't have them. From Matt Walsh, it's time to have a national conversation about common sense restrictions on transgenders. It wasn't all that long ago that anyone who identified as the opposite sex would be involuntarily committed to an insane asylum. Does anyone at this point seriously think that our current approach is an improvement? From Charlie Kirk, if you are crazy enough to want to hormonally and surgically change your sex, you have a mental disorder and you are too crazy to own a firearm. From Michael Knowles, for the good of society and especially for the good of the poor people who have fallen prey to this delusion, transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely, the whole preposterous ideology at every level. From Christopher F. Rufo, the trans cult hatched such an enormous propaganda campaign that for a number of years they were able to obscure an obvious truth, pumping kids full of synthetic hormones while telling them that they can change from boy to girl will only end in tragedy or disaster. Ask yourself a question. Are they going to be saying this about giving cis men testosterone? They're not. We should now put to rest the libertarian delusion that transgenderism is a matter of personal choice or live and let live. It's an ideology that has done grave damage to millions of Americans and has unleashed a nihilistic wave of violence on our society. Enough. Again from Joey Manarino, I'd be fine with taking away the Second Amendment rights for anyone who is transgender. I'd really, truly be fine with that. They should not really have any rights when they're walking around killing kids all the time. Today, after the mass shooting in Minneapolis, we must act. I agree with Democrats that the time for action is now and thoughts and prayers won't cut it. We must gather lawmakers to immediately classify transgenderism as a mental illness that must be treated in an inpatient mental health facility. Anyone who prescribes puberty blockers should immediately lose their medical license. Anyone who performs surgeries to transition individuals must be immediately jailed for a minimum of 10 years. Transgenders cannot coexist in polite society any longer. This is genocide rhetoric. I need you to understand when you are looking at these tweets, and I know what the response is going to be. Oh, you're taking a handful of tweets from people seriously. This is literally what they're trying to do. And also, it's worth noting that all of these people have ties to the administration. All of these people are close with high-level officials in the government, including the president himself. We're not talking about a bunch of nobodies crying out on Twitter. We're talking about people whose words can actually influence policy. This is genocide rhetoric. This is the type of stuff that you see said before a Holocaust happens. And people who are refusing to accept this and people who are refusing to call a duck, if you were wondering what you would have done in 1930s Germany, you're finding out right now. I know that it feels cliche to say it, but it is completely true. And by the way, these people are going against the wishes of the actual community that's affected by this. Y'all are full of links today. The disarmament of the German Jews. The disarmament of the German Jews started in 1933, initially limited to local areas. A major target was Berlin, where large-scale raids and search for weaponry took place. Starting in 1936, the Gestapo prohibited German police officers from giving firearms licenses to Jews. In November 1938, I'm not even going to try to pronounce this. These fucking people prohibited the possession of firearms and bladed weapons by Jews. This is literally how it started. Do you guys not understand this? And I'm not saying this to try to scare everyone. I really, truly am not trying to scare all of you, because ultimately, what you should be getting from this, if you are a trans person in America, what you should be getting from this is why we have to fight these people. If you're not a trans person in America and you're looking at this and you're saying, well, you are just crying wolf, you're making a mountain out of a molehill, this is nothing, you're just taking the words of a handful of people, need I remind you, these are people who were part of the platform of getting the president elected. These are people who are close to members of the government. These are people whose words do not just go unheard. These are not people, not randos on Twitter. These are actually influential people in the United States government. And their words, you can just take them for what they're saying. You don't have to interpret it. You don't have to say, well, you don't know what they meant. I know what they meant. They're saying it. They're saying it right to your face. I want to take away guns from trans people. And I'm telling you, this is how this starts. This is how the genocide begins. In 30 years, we're going to be looking at this time and we're going to be saying, how the fuck did no one know that we're in the middle of a genocide? The things conservatives are saying are stages 4 and 6 of genocide. They're influential enough to push into stages 7 and 8 very quickly. Exactly. We are in the midst of it. All while they do nothing else related to making mental health prevention services available, because they don't actually care about mental health prevention. In fact, mental health prevention is just a smokescreen. Not only do they not care about actually making mental health prevention services available, they actively want to genocide people who have mental health conditions as well. This isn't just I think transgenderism is a mental illness for no reason. The reason they're using it as a mental illness, the reason they're using that language is because they want to kill disabled people and they want to kill people with mental illnesses too. We're just the group of people that they get everyone's permission to genocide before they go after others. People today still tell me that I shouldn't talk about politics. People are still not comfortable to notice that the heat is turning up. It's because they're not personally affected by it. And they don't like it when people put in their face the fact that they're affected by it. Now, I can't tell you what we're going to be seeing soon. I don't want to put in your mind that this is like the end of the world. I don't want to put it in anyone's mind that we are in like dire position right now. Because I don't want to breed doomerism, but I cannot lie to you. This is not great, and this is not putting us in a really great position. This is part of the rights genocide plan. This is they are telling you what they want to do. And for all of you who think that it's going to stop at trans people, it is not. They're going to go after the rest of the queer community. They're going to go after Black people. They are going to go after every person of color. And they are going to go after women. Because cis women are just baby machines to them. And if you think that you're going to get out of it because you are just a cis straight white person, they're going to come for you too. And I know I sound like an insane person talking like this. I know that people are going to say, you sound like a crazy person. This is not crazy. This is somebody who is fucking terrified for their life. And the fact that people cannot see that right now is part of the problem. I need all of you to wake the fuck up to what this is. This is genocide. Look, I know that I'm not the first. I'm not going to be the last person to say this. And I know that I'm not breaking new ground here. But we need to be saying this all the time. We cannot let them hide from this. Not only do people need to see this, not only do people need to actually see the consequences of their actions, they need to see what these people are saying and doing, what their plans are, but they need to not be given the opportunity to hide from it. It is imperative that anyone here who is a cis ally, who has any kind of support network, those people need to be speaking out against this. And not just speaking out, but they need to have this stuff visible. The more that we pretend that this stuff is not going on, the more we are giving in and letting them just do it. And I am not going to tell any of you that you have to get out there and protest and fight and put your lives at risk. And I'm not going to tell any of you that the best thing to do is to just run away, because that's not possible for everyone. It is not going to be possible for everyone to get out, and it's not going to be possible for everyone to just stay and fight. But those of us who can, should. Even if it is just as simple as saying something, as making people aware. It always starts with taking away the right to have a firearm. It always starts with calling it mental illness or some other kind of impurity. Because if it wasn't mental illness, it would be something else. They've tried it in every way. This is how they get permission to do it. And we cannot just give that to them. If I continue going, I'm just going to keep talking in circles. So, ultimately, what I want to leave you with is, if you take away anything from the shooting in Minnesota, take away this. None of the things that caused this shooting are going to be solved by going after trans people. And in fact, spending our time going after trans people is more likely to cause more of these things to happen, because the exact type of rhetoric and the exact type of influence that the far right has had is what leads to this. The complete and total apathy towards human life from people like that shooter that doesn't come out of nowhere, and it's not because of being trans. And listening to people tell you that, oh, well, it's not as big of a deal as you say, oh, they're not actually doing that, when you can fucking demonstrate that they're doing it, that they're saying it, that it's not just being crazy. We cannot let them get away with it. That's what you need to take away from this. This shooting cannot be used as an excuse to erase the existence of a class of people. If it were any other class of people, we would be fighting much, much harder. But we're easy targets. I don't have anything else. Hi, thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like, leaving a comment, or subscribing to the channel. Thank you to all of the combined channel members from across my donation platforms. If you would like to support the channel directly and help alongside them, consider donating directly through Ko-fi, becoming a channel member, or becoming a patron on Patreon. Every little bit helps. Thanks so much.